Today, I feel like I just had a real, genuine, and deep conversation with Jeff Thomas, or better known as Ekoh. Um, it's funny because he worked at Encore Beach Club in Las Vegas with my fiance, Johnny. And Johnny was like, "You should have Jeff on the pod." And I was like, "You're absolutely right." And today we made it happen. Ekoh is an independent hip hop artist from Las Vegas, Nevada, who blends hip hop, rock, and alternative into a style fans call heart hop. Now, me personally, I am a sucker for powerful lyrics. Like when I listen to music, I want it to evoke an emotion. Um, and I like everything from Eminem to Alanis Morissette to Tim McGraw to Beyonce to Train, and I could just go on and on. But honestly, today was about more than just the music. It was about the space between the notes. And I was honestly surprised and grateful that Jeff would even be open to this today because unfortunately, his brother recently ended his own life. And there's a multitude of other things going on in Jeff's life. He's even had to postpone his upcoming tour, but he graciously showed up and was as open book as you could ask. He shared his struggles with addiction and recovery. We talked about the struggle that often comes with success, and I don't feel like that's talked about enough. Like maybe we should be preparing people that success doesn't fix you. And we also talked about the ways to heal up. So, like, I appreciated his vulnerability today and his bootstrap mentality, and I think it was a great episode. So, as always, thanks for listening. Well, I'm so glad to have you here, and I know there's just been a lot of crap. Like, let's just be frank, like you've been going through it right now. It's been a
Yeah,
little rough.
I mean, I guess there's like always everybody's always kind of going through it, but I mean, it has
Hmm.
been especially a concentrated amount of stuff
Yeah,
like happening. Yeah, like recently.
yeah. So, I guess we can dive right in and just get the elephant out of the room. It's just I've been, I've known you for a while. Let's talk about that. I mean, I've known you for a few years. You and Johnny, we used to work together
Yeah,
at Encore Beach Club, which is
good
funny
times.
because like that is what brought Johnny and I together, and it's what brought you.
Wait, that's how you guys met?
It so in a way, it's like we knew of each other from the gym,
Okay,
but we never really talked or connected. It was like at the pool that
interesting.
first time I saw him outside the gym, because at the gym I go in and I'm just like,
Tunnel vision, you just do your
yeah,
thing. Okay. I think
actually he,
about that a lot, even like as a woman, like going to the gym, like how
yeah.
much it must kind of suck.
Well, and imagine when you like roll with men,
Yeah,
right? You cannot be like cute about it, or it's just like you feel like you're, the little fish in a shark tank,
yeah, for
It's like,
sure.
so
I would never.
Johnny
That would fucking
actually,
suck.
Johnny actually thought I was really stuck up.
Oh, because you're just not like you
Yep.
just don't give anybody the time of day, essentially. Well, you can't
Not
really.
really. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
Not,
get that.
yeah, I don't really. I'm nicer now, and it's not that I was ever mean. It's just that I think that I was kind of, it's like if I didn't directly train with you, I wasn't trying to like be buddies with you because it's like, I'm just like I'm a woman in there, and like
Yeah.
and I was in a relationship for a while too, so it was like I was not single, so I wasn't trying to be in there playing grab ass. You know what I mean?
So it's just like having your walls up or having your guard up or
Hmm.
just not wanting to have to deal with any of the bullshit. Can I say shit on
Yeah,
here?
you
I
can
say okay.
absolutely. I should have said it earlier too. I was like, why did I say crap? I don't know. It was
I was
uh,
just going off of you.
yeah,
So yeah.
no, you're good. Yeah, so I was both. It's just that I wanted to be focused. I didn't want to be, leading anybody on. I didn't want to send the wrong message because it's just so easy to do
Mhm.
in the gym. Especially when you're training and like there's not that many females usually that are, on the fight team. Now there's more, but it's like it just kind of became part of the way that I carry myself because I started wrestling when I was 15. I was like one of two girls. And
What
then
made
one
you want
year
to wrestle when you're 15?
um I think really is like I cannot play basketball. That's what it is. Like, you got to know what
It's
you're
just because you couldn't play basketball, or you're like, what am I
almost,
good
it's
at?
like as simple as that. Like, I wanted to play a sport and I
Okay.
was just like so not interested in basketball. I couldn't jump. I didn't, I was boring to me. Basketball was boring. And I did wrestling and it was so hard and it challenged me in a whole new perspective that I was like, I was by no means better at wrestling than basketball. I was absolutely terrible too. But
Was it something that kind of came naturally to you though, like the idea of it,
I
or
think so.
doing
Like the
certain
work
things?
ethic, the drive to work hard for something
Mm.
and see an improvement and see that reward, that extreme, like when a practice is just, or I mean anything is just so challenging that you just don't know if you're gonna get through it. Like, how do you get to the other
Yeah.
side? Like, you're
Yeah.
just in the thick of it, and you're like, I just don't see how I make it. And then it's like somehow you just put one foot in front of the other and you make it. It's like every day that I showed up for wrestling practice was like that high for me. It was like, man, I didn't think that I could do that. And I did way more than I thought that I was capable of. And now I realize, like, oh, I'm tougher than I knew. Like, there's
Mm.
just something really rewarding about doing that for me.
But
Yeah.
there's, I feel like there's a lot of things that are like that, but until you find the one thing that you find is kind of speaking your language.
Yeah.
Because anything I could have gotten into in the same way is like all
Mhm.
these things are challenging. It's just nothing I've come across really felt like it made sense, like I could be good at it, or it just
Yeah.
kind of the certain things lined up and equaled to each other.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing when I found music. It's like, this is the one thing I was never good at anything else. And it's not even that I was good at music, but it was the one thing that, like, okay, this makes
Spoke to you.
sense.
Yeah.
This, for
Same.
some reason, I see the equation here. I see how this lines up, and
Yep.
it, like, I can see the path to get to where I want to go.
And when you get in that sort of the overcoming, the triumph, the flow state, you start to realize that like, if you demand it, the path will come.
Mm.
Right? It's like you taking command of your life. And when I started wrestling, there was no future for me in that. And when I started fighting, there was no future for me in that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like when you're just so passionate about something and you're relentless about it and you just go for it. It's just amazing sometimes how the universe really seems to conspire to make it happen.
And there's, I mean, even, especially when you started fighting, it seems like, because UFC was not a household name.
No, barely.
And
it was still so taboo at that
so
time.
everything you have to be doing has to really just be because you love it and you
Yeah.
want to do it and you care about it.
Oh
And
my
that's where
gosh.
you get the best product anyways, is
Yeah.
when you're not doing it. It's not like, I'm not saying anybody gets into it for that reason now, but if you're getting into fighting now, there's at least, you're like, okay, I can be successful in this. I can make a
Yeah.
name for myself. I can
I
do all this stuff. But back then it's like, you
I
might not
know.
even make any money. It's
Yeah.
just, you just have to really
No, because
care.
I was fighting for 8 years before women were even allowed in the UFC.
That's so crazy.
So talk about pennies on the dollar. I mean,
Yeah.
it really was a poor man or woman, especially poor woman sport.
Well,
it's
people were, it wasn't even that it wasn't allowed. People were like, we don't want to see this.
yeah,
Right?
so true. Like, men really had a hard time wrapping their mind around it, and women really weren't that interested. And now, I think it's a lot about storytelling, though. I mean,
Yeah.
because people would just be like, why would I want to see women? Why would I even want to see men fight? Like, this is so barbaric. This is ridiculous. Like, what
Yeah.
is this? It's not a sport. But then you start to hear the stories of the people and the storylines. And then I obviously had that huge rivalry with Rhonda. And it was just like the stories started to come out. And I mean, I think that's what can make or break anything. I think a storyline is always important in sport and in anything we do.
Yeah. It is like, yeah, exactly. How you're packaging it and how you
Mhm.
follow it and figure out,
Yeah.
the things that as long as you're connecting and like being vulnerable and connecting on like an emotional level with people,
Yeah.
then they can kind of wrap their head around it.
Yeah. So back to Encore Beach Club. You and Johnny were working at Encore Beach Club. That's where you met Megan too.
Yeah. I was thinking about Encore Beach Club last night because just because I was talking to Megan, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the podcast and all that stuff. And I was just, there's like a tendency for me to romanticize and kind of look back so fondly on those times.
Yeah.
Even though technically I'm doing what I've always wanted to do now, there's like something that's so special about clocking in and clocking out and having a job that you just enjoy and have fun being at. That's just a very romanticized of like those times.
Well, you know what? I think it's very valid to feel two ways about the same thing. Like, a lot of people we think sometimes that we have to just feel Well, and we're kind of told that, like this oversimplification of our emotions, but it is valid to feel like you're very happy and, you're glad to be doing what you do. And you also miss a part of your life that you probably will never go back to. Like, that's both okay.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes when you're like, I don't want another kid, but I miss like having, it's like, I know you're not a parent, but like, but I miss that baby stage, or I mourn that. It's like, it's okay to feel two ways, two different ways about a situation.
And it's even being outside of it, being like, okay, there's going to be a day where I look back on right now
Mm-hmm.
and romanticize this
Yes.
era
Yeah.
of where I'm at, but I can't recognize that now and appreciate it
Yeah.
for what it is to that extent.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because it's like you don't appreciate it really until years later when you look back.
Yep.
And it's that like nostalgia is such a drug.
It is.
It's what we're all chasing. It's what like movies and all this kind of stuff is
Yeah.
just like feeding you back the good times you thought you had when instead of just appreciating where you're at right now, which is difficult. But EBC was a great time in my life.
How many years did you work there?
I think 3.
Okay.
3 years.
I wonder how many Johnny worked there. I think a few, maybe a little more than that, 3 or 4.
He was probably like
that.
5 or something.
Yeah, 5 years.
But it was the first time in my life I ever had money.
Yeah, you guys don't make bad money. Oh, so it's funny. So Johnny approached me at Extreme Couture after practice one day, and mind you, I have no clue how the industry works at all.
Okay.
I really, I'm a jockette to the core, barely go out and party. I have like no life. I just train. Okay. And I'm currently in a relationship. And he asks me, "Hey Miesha, do you want to come to Encore Beach Club one of these weekends or something like that?" And I was like, in my mind, this is why he thought I was stuck up. I was like, A, why would this guy randomly invite me to the pool? Like, that's weird. Red flags, right? And then,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
but you have the
Yeah.
other side of it, right? It was, like that you guys have to bring
Oh, he was trying to get you on his guest list.
Yeah, he was trying to get me on his guest list.
That is insane. That's so funny.
Okay, so he's just like, if you want to, it's the guest list thing, and I was like, well, and then I was like, okay, well, if it's not weird, like it seems weird, then maybe it's like maybe he's talking about business, like maybe this is a paid thing, So it's like, is it like a paid, like, are you talking about like an appearance, like what are you talking about? Because at the time, like I was doing appearances, I was well known enough in the UFC, and and so and he was like, oh, let me ask or whatever. And then he was just like, God, she's so stuck up. I was like, well, I just couldn't figure it out. Like, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. Like, why you were asking me to go to this pool. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, that was one of our very few interactions. Like, we honestly had like 3 interactions, I think, all the years that I was training there. And it was always just like in passing. We didn't train together. He's a little bit too, like, outweighs me by a little bit too much to like make sense to train together. And that was it. And so he was just like, yeah, she's stuck up.
So, how did you guys ever end up actually? Did you ever come to the pool?
I did, but not because of Johnny. So, like, a couple years goes by, and then my friend, did you ever know Gustavo Lopez?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I know Gustavo.
He was a security guard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think so. And he was a fighter. I knew him from Washington. So when I went to Yakima MMA, and that's where I started training originally, and I was going to Central Washington University, I met him there because he wrestled and was fighting. And we've been friends since like back in the day. So when he started working at EBC and invited me, I'm like, okay, that, I know him well enough. That's not weird. I'd forgot that Johnny even worked there. Like, it was such a quick conversation in the gym. And like, I didn't even know it was EBC. I just knew it was like a pool that he invited me to. So anyways, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And I go there and I'm single. And I was like, forbid myself to date anybody from the gym. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
like, we're done with that. And then he's like, Johnny's here and Boston, and like there was like a couple guys from the gym, and I was like, oh well, just tell him to come and say hi. And so eventually they did, but Johnny was like the last one to come and say hi. So I was giving him a hard time, about like just like, oh, putting me off or whatever. He was busy. It was Labor Day weekend.
Okay, so slammed. Super slammed.
It was like one of the last weekends the pool was open,
Gotcha,
because I kind of put it off the whole summer. And eventually that was kind of the first time I saw him outside the gym, and I was like, God, what a good looking man he is,
He is a good looking man.
He's a good looking man, right? He's a little hunk. So I invited him to come out to dinner with us later that night, and it was like the end of the 3-day weekend, and he said he was just so exhausted. He was like this close to not coming. And then he did, and we just got lost in conversation like the whole night. Like everybody else just like left. I don't know, like we were just still just talking. And I was like, what a interesting person he is, and then I was just like, I was just became really interested in him
Yeah.
in all the ways. And I was like, he's great. And that was kind of how the story went.
I mean, it's just so interesting, especially I feel like that place in a weird way was able to breed a lot of different people in different
Yeah.
areas, all kind of striving to do stuff. Cause that's one of those jobs where it's most people there. Well, I can't say most people, but that's one of those jobs where a lot of people go to set them up to do something else.
Yeah.
And that was always
It's a springboard. For sure.
it should be a springboard because
Yeah.
there is such a time limit on it, and you age out of it, or the industry just dies, or things change, like what happened there. Money changes, all kinds of stuff, and it just turns into something else. But if you use that as a springboard, it can be a really smart thing to use. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I used it for. When I first got that job, I was, like I said, I'd never had money before.
Yeah.
I started working there, and dude, the amount of money you can make at that place is insane. I had no idea that this existed.
The people tip crazy, huh? Like sometimes, right?
I remember calling my mom after my first shift because I had gotten like $1,000 over tip. And I made $1,000 in a day. Like I've never had like just that much money in my bank account like at once. And I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just made this much money. This is crazy. But as soon as that started happening, I was like, okay, I'm going to just use all this and put it towards trying to make this music thing happen, if it does or if it doesn't. That's what I'm going to try and figure out. But that was what a lot of people do. And it can be great for people if they're trying to just use something to fund a bigger dream that they have. It's, probably in a weird way, that job was probably the biggest like turning point in my life in a very weird way, especially because
Yeah.
I'm not an industry guy. I'm sober. I hate nightclubs. I hate day clubs. I don't go. Like,
What about at that point in your life? Because I know you had been sober for a while, and I'd like to touch on that too. I know that you struggled there for a little bit with addiction, but Johnny was like, yeah, by the time he was working there, I didn't know him during that time in his life. So maybe you could paint a little bit of a picture of that kind of transition.
yeah, I mean, well, I got sober young. Thankfully, I went to rehab when I was 18 and was able to stay sober.
What were you using?
Oxycontin, heroin, coke. Those were my
when did
my
you
big
start?
three.
And how does like something like that, how do you start? And what I mean, that sounds like
I think I've looked back on that question a lot, because when you're in it, you don't really know. You just kind of
yeah.
are just doing what feels right at the time. You don't really, I guess, know why you're doing what you're doing.
But
especially
it is a
for
form
me,
of escape, though. I mean, honestly,
100%.
it's just self-medication. It's like you can't, and I feel bad for children. I think about it. It's like, no wonder children that are in, environments that are either abusive or, just hard all around. It's like they can't just leave,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you can't just like get up and go. Like we take that for granted, I think, as adults in America today. Sometimes it's like, if you're really in a situation you really don't want to be, like, you can just get up in your car and leave. And I mean, I did that with my ex. I basically just packed up my bags and I was like, I don't know where I'm going, but I just threw them in my car and I was like, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm done. But when you're like a little kid, you have to live in those toxic environments at times. Like you can't physically leave. So I think you try to find ways to emotionally and mentally leave.
Or you don't know anything's wrong. You just don't know. You just don't like the way you feel. Or you just don't understand what's really going on. And my situation was, I've done enough therapy to look back and kind of see what was happening when I was growing up. And my mom had my brother when she was 16. She had me when she was 18. She came from nothing, was this young woman with 2 kids and her own mental issues that she was dealing with. And, I had 4 stepdads growing up, men that were in and out of the household all the time. And she was trying to figure out something. And I'm not sure exactly what it was, but something was missing there for her. And I was never like abused as a kid. I never dealt with any sort of abuse, but there was an extreme just amount of neglect. And, like I said, my mom was trying to figure out whatever. She was in her late 20s, early 30s, trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. And she had gotten married without telling any of us. And we lived with our grandparents a lot of the time. And it was,
She struggled with addiction.
yeah, she struggled with addiction. She struggles with mental, you know, suicide, depression,
Yeah.
things like that. So it was always kind of going on in my house, and it was, you know, always trying to figure out if she was okay so we could be okay.
Yeah.
And how is she doing today, and
Yeah.
trying to figure that out so we can, you know, regulate as a kid. And it should never be that way. It should always be the opposite. And I've found that out as I've gotten older. I had this pride of like, oh, I take care of my mom because there wasn't a guy there, and that's so fucking wrong.
Yeah.
It should never, the child should never take care of a parent. That's what I've realized getting older, and that role should never be that way. It should always be the opposite. And it never was. And so I'd had all this stuff going on and with myself, and my own anxiety about her and things going on, and I had, you know, body issues that I wasn't okay with, and I just didn't understand myself. And I was around friends, and it was like I hung out with older kids because my brother was a little bit older, and they started smoking weed. So I started smoking weed when I was like 12. And I just liked the way I felt better.
What did you like about it?
I like just turning it off.
Yeah.
Like my head just doesn't slow down, doesn't stop. And I heard someone years ago that was like, it's like taking an aspirin and never knowing you had a headache like your entire life. And it's like the first time. And I was like, okay, this is like, I can regulate like my nervous system, essentially, just feel a little bit better.
On hyperdrive.
Yeah, and just feel comfortable in my own skin, which I just never felt like ever. So I started using, you know, smoking weed and drinking when I was like 12, 13 years old. And it just slowly started moving into harder stuff just because of the people I was hanging out with, and the lack of knowledge of how addictive pills were, and all that kind of stuff. So it just kind of all hit at once. And before I knew it, I was just addicted to Oxycontin by the time I was 15. And liked I liked who I was. I liked the person I was. I felt like I could be, looking back now, I feel like it was like a fast track to vulnerability. Like I could drop all my walls, drop all this self-conscious behavior and all these negative thoughts, and really just be myself and be open to people. And people liked me better because I was able to do that. Because me being sober, I close up. I don't really want to talk that much, and I kind of stay to myself, and I don't like being vulnerable. It makes me uncomfortable. But when I could take a couple pills and just feel like, okay, this is me. I like this me.
Yeah.
It's hard to shake that.
Do you feel like you're able to dip into that more now, sober, with work and learning, you know, self-work, and learning different coping skills and things like that? Are you able to kind of tap into that energy without, you know, needing obviously you don't use anything, but are you able to kind of get where you felt that comfortability being vulnerable without that?
Yeah, it just takes more time. And I think I've realized that I'm just not the type of person that can show that to everybody.
Yeah.
I have to be around the right people. I have to feel safe. But that, you know, using is like, okay, now I can do this, and I can be like this around everybody. It doesn't matter. And I've figured out just now more, it does matter who I'm around, and who I want to let in, and how much energy that kind of takes.
So why go to rehab? Why do all of that? Why are you not still a drug addict?
Well, I mean, it got really bad. You know, whatever like you start using for, even if it's just to take the edge off, if you're an addict, like it, especially with, you know, something as physically addictive as opiates are, it takes over. And it's like if I just do one just to take the edge off, just to feel a little bit better, it just kicks off this
slippery slope.
Yeah, it kicks it off, and then I just can't stop, and I don't know how to stop, and I'm afraid to stop because I don't want to be sick. And you know, I started stealing from people, and I got fired from jobs for stealing, and I was stealing from friends, and I'm just trying to feed my habit.
When all of that is happening, and you're stealing from people because you have a need that needs to be met, do you know that, like, does it hurt you? Like, do you know that it's like it's wrong, that you don't want to do those things? Or how do you feel? Are you disconnected at that point?
You're pretty disconnected. I mean, there's a voice in the back of the head that's like, I know I wasn't raised this way. I know this is wrong. I know I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
But there becomes a point where like using is survival. And so
Yeah.
if you're equating this to survival, you'll justify anything in a certain way or just
Yeah.
compartmentalize it to where you just don't think about that and just do what you have to do to get what you need to get.
Yeah. So it got bad. How did you decide that you were gonna go? Because a lot of people don't do what you did.
I mean, I didn't. It was kind of decided for me.
Okay.
I got into a point where I was in trouble with the law because of stealing and robbery, and with my parents that were I had a stepdad at the time that I had stolen a bunch of money from, and they were just like, yeah, we're not going to help you out, and the court was like, you can go to rehab or you can go to jail. And so it was like, okay, I'm definitely going to go to rehab, and I had no real intention of getting sober or anything. I just kind of wanted to take the heat off for a little while, and I was like, okay, if I could get through these withdrawals, that'd be pretty nice because this sucks. And I was just fortunate enough that when I was in there was like a counselor that I just really super connected with that just saw me for me
Yeah.
and saw all my bullshit and called me out on it and made me feel safe enough to admit to my bullshit and be vulnerable enough to let somebody in, to not even as much to help me, but just to like love on me and like
Yeah.
care about me.
Yeah.
Because I put up so many walls with so many stepdads and my mom who wasn't really there or was having her own mental health issues. It was so to let somebody in to really care about you and like, be there for you was probably the most like important thing for me. Just being in rehab is meeting that person.
It's so important. And I feel like, especially as a young adult or a child, to have connection is so important. I read this book called Hold On to Your Children. It's by Dr. Gabor Mate, who's a trauma specialist. And being a mom myself, it really opened my eyes to how important parental attachment is and how hard it can be this day and age, because there's so much that's pulling us every different direction, even if you're a well-meaning parent, much less if you have struggles yourself. But that role of that person who's connected in your life, who you feel connected to, I mean, it's actually essential for survival. So it's like, if children don't have that at home, they will find it in their peers, and then you'll have peer attachment. And then oftentimes when children are leading children, it's just crazy. They've actually observed this with elephants. So, for example, if a adolescent or a young elephant is left to like its own devices, like if all the adults were like killed or slaughtered or taken, and there's like a baby, it's just like a little shithead, like runs around and like kills things and like steps, like doing things is not like elephants, like
Okay.
you know what I mean? For just no apparent purpose, like pushing trees. There's just like anxious and doesn't really know what to do, and it's like they yeah, they don't have that kind of like person to regulate them, or that person in their life. I would say person, not but those elephants, it's like it's similar to us. It's like those children need someone to be connected to regulate with, to show them how to act and how to be as they're becoming an adult. And when they don't have that, as I mentioned, peer attachment becomes what they try to do, or they attach to another adult in their life, or a teacher or a counselor or something like that. And ideally, hopefully those people are good for you, because when they
Yeah.
are, you can tell
When they
that
are,
it
it's
makes a big
good.
difference.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times it's not what happens.
Yeah, the odds are, because I've even looked at my own and I was like, dude, growing up, none of me and all my friends or the people I grew up with, none of us had dads. None of us had a father figure there. So we're all just kind of leading each other in these certain ways. And I've thought about this a lot recently, of just growing up just as a young man and not having a role model and not having a real example of healthy masculinity. of what
Mm-hmm.
masculinity is, or what it means to be a man, or uh, what it means to be in a relationship, or to have friendships and all that kind of stuff. And it's no better now than it was then. Arguably might be worse now, because there's the examples of any masculinity are so far on fringes that you're kind of incorporating so many unhealthy habits with just somebody who is comfortable in their masculinity, that is very attractive to young men, and they're drawn to this. But with that, the people that are healthy in their masculinity are also a lot of times toxic in a lot of ways, because there's just this really weird, it's a really weird time right now, and it's in a weird way difficult to talk about in certain spaces, because a lot of people don't want to hear about the plight of a man in modern society.
No, I feel like this is a very fair conversation. It should be had more because it's not easy being a man today. I don't think it is. And I think
It's
everybody
not.
brushes it off like, oh, whatever, you've had it always so good and you've always had your rights and you had all these things. But it's like, that doesn't, things that happened like so long ago doesn't exactly apply to right
Yeah.
here,
What does
right
that
now.
mean to like a 10-year-old
Yeah.
boy who's just like, oh, men are toxic, men are canceled,
Yeah.
like, all that kind of stuff. It's like, so where do you find your identity, and where are you supposed to find that, and who do you look for to find any sort of masculinity in anywhere? You're gonna find it with like Andrew Tate and
Oh
shit like that.
gosh.
That's
Yeah.
that's because those are people that are comfortable in their masculinity. Unfortunately, a lot of different shit comes with that, but it's because it's just hard to have the conversation for a lot of people um, in this day and age right now. And looking back at when I was growing up, I just didn't have really any of that. And if you look at even what you're talking about, is what is the trauma that comes along with that, and
Yeah.
what is just the trauma that you're growing up with that you don't even know you have, because trauma is not this massive crazy thing that happens. It's these little tiny
Yeah.
things that just sort of pile up
Yeah.
over time and become too much for you to kind of overcome on your own, that you're just kind of stuck with, and like, okay, this is my DNA
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
because I didn't deal with
Yeah.
that. And so I have this trauma of nothing bad happened to me, but there's a trauma of like, oh, I needed somebody and nobody was there, or there was
Which
no
is not
currency.
to be underestimated. The
Yeah.
impact of that on somebody growing up was like, that's one of the most important, vital, essential things for children to have, is like somebody to be there when they need them.
Yeah, or love you unconditionally, or just care
Yeah.
about you
Did
just
you
for being
feel
you.
love from your mom, or was she very disconnected? Or you knew that she loved you underneath it all, but you just like, how was that?
It was I think I knew that she loved me. She cared about me a lot. I never, I've looked back now to try and think back of like warm moments, and there just wasn't a lot of. I think she didn't know how to be vulnerable, and how to
Yeah.
connect, and how to show up in that way, especially emotionally. So it's like, you always know, you're like, yeah, my mom loves me. Of course, she provides for me and has done all this stuff, and
Right.
she tells me she loves me and supports me and all this kind of stuff. But it's more so on a micro level of feeling taken care of,
Yeah.
and feeling safe.
Yeah.
Because what is love? I think love is a safety in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And
That's a good way to describe it.
if you don't feel safe, not that I don't feel in danger, but I don't feel safe enough to be myself and get my needs met at the same time. Like, do I feel like I can get my needs met just by being me? Not really. So what do I have to change about myself to get my needs met? And what's the domino effect of that? If I have to change my needs to get, if I have to change myself to get my needs met at home, what am I going to do when I go out in the world and I have to get my needs met? I'm going to change for this person and change for that person. And then who am I? Where's the authentic me in all of this? And how can I find that?
Yeah. Do you think that, your brother, obviously you just lost your brother. And I'm so sorry about that. I really am.
Thanks.
You think he struggled with the same things?
Yeah. I mean, we came from the the same household, so I know that a lot of the same things kind of uh, weighed on him that weighed on me.
Yeah.
He had, you know, more mental things than I had. Just even growing up, was like diagnosed like bipolar and schizoaffective at one point. I don't know if that was a misdiagnosis or what, but there was a point where he was in a mental institution for uh what it was like for a month. He was in a place when they were trying to diagnose him and figure out what was going on. That was when we were in like high school. So there was always a lot going on there, and he was always just a little bit different, and had a, you know, a little more difficult time just even like in social settings and social situations and stuff like that. So I'm sure he felt it. I feel like he probably felt it in a different way, and he was even more closed off than I was.
Yeah.
And really never figured out a way to kind of escape that. And I had to leave all of that behind. I had to sever ties with everybody in my family. I had to get away from it to kind of break the cycle. And I don't think he was able to do that. I did that, and my little brother did the same thing. And I think that on its own kind of breeds its own survivor's guilt in a weird way
Yeah.
of being able to get away from it and kind of break your own cycle. But then looking back at the people that were still there and are still kind of suffering on their own. And if you're, you know, my mom is still suffering in her own ways, and he obviously was in his own way. And so looking at that is difficult, but I know that there was a lot, you know, of the same going on because we're in the same roof, you know?
Yeah. And I think too, maybe being the oldest, it's just even though you're under the same roof, there's differences in how you interpret your environment. And I could imagine maybe being the first one and being alone. Those first, what is he, a couple years older than you?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. You know, so those first 2 years, you know, you don't have anybody. Yeah, it's just different, right? I would imagine it's just different. So,
You know, so everybody kind of interprets trauma or
yeah,
experience just differently. What could be traumatic to me would not be to somebody else. And it just really depends. That's the thing that scares me about just having kids or raising children anyway. You don't know what's going to be the thing. Like, is
right.
this going to imprint on you forever? Is this the
Yeah,
thing, or is it going to be something else? Or what would make a difference to me? Would it make a difference to you? And what's going to be that thing? You just never know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's life is a crazy thing. You sit back and think about all of it, like it's insane. It is just so much to break down, break through, get past, and elevate. And I think one of the things I know that I admire so much about you is how you have channeled it into what you have done. And your music is so powerful. People ask me all the time, like, what kind of music do you like? I'm like, dude, anything that like speaks to me. Like I
Mm.
love lyrics. And that is one of my favorite things about your music is the the vulnerability and the truth that you speak, and you can tell that there's a story in everything that you write about. Like it's deep and it's meaningful. And so I guess I'll let you lead off there with music. What about it? Tell me everything.
I don't know. I mean, to date back to like when I was growing up, I think music was like my safe place.
Yeah.
And it was the one place where I felt safe and accepted and seen. You know, I was a kid with a lot of emotions and nowhere to really put it. And so the music I always gravitated to was heavier lyrically and more, you know, poetic. I was never into like club shit
Yeah.
or anything like that. The stuff I was getting into, like I was listening to Tupac when I was like 12, like Thug's Mansion. Like the first verse of Thug's Mansion was like, that shouldn't ring true to a 12-year-old kid, but it's like,
What is the first verse?
uh,
It's like,
a place to spend my quiet nights, time to unwind, so much pressure in this life of mine. I cried times I once contemplated suicide and would have tried, but when I held that 9, all I could see was my mama's eyes. And I'm like, why am
yeah.
I shouldn't be able to connect to this, but there's something about the vulnerability and the honesty in lyrics like that just always kind of rang true with me and still do. And unfortunately, I feel like we're at a time where it's like lyrics don't matter to people as much, which sucks. But I don't know what that is about time. I think lyrics will always matter in a certain sense, but to me, they used to like be so much more important in the music that people are making. But that's still, to me, if you hit the right words at the right time, like that's magic. And I think I just had so many emotions when I was growing up and wanted to figure out a way to put it somewhere. So when I started making music, I just really just liked writing and really just wanted to write and would listen to my favorite songs and would write out those lyrics, the ones that, connected with me. And I really didn't even start actually doing like writing songs until after I got sober because I needed an outlet
Yeah.
to get all these feelings out or to figure out what the fuck was actually going on in my head. And I just started writing songs. I didn't know how. I didn't know song structure. I didn't know how I was supposed to write a song, what a verse was, what a chorus was, or how to change it or anything like that. I just started.
You ever play instruments or anything like that? Not really.
I played guitar when I was like in high school, but I was never that good at it and never really cared that much.
Yeah.
And I am the type of person I know now, like if I don't care, if like I'm not emotionally invested, then I'm not going to care. I'm not going to put any effort into it. So I was like so bad at most of my jobs growing up is because I just don't fucking care. And if I'm not emotionally invested in this, I'm not going to push myself. But if I'm emotionally invested and I'm there for it, like I'm working, 20-hour days and stopping at nothing to make it happen. So when I started making music, it just was the first time that I felt, the same sort of thing. Like I was like, I don't know how songs work. I don't know song structure, but for some reason, this just makes sense. Like I can write this verse and I can write here and it just, I don't want to say comes naturally, but it doesn't, there's not like a lot blocking it. Like it just made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was able to just start writing songs and show a couple, close friends that I wasn't, I thought would hopefully be honest with me and not like roast me too harshly. And thankfully for those people, I always think that those are the people that like lied to me long enough to allow me to get good at what I was doing, or maybe just saw the potential in what I was doing, or
maybe they just want to support you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that too. Sometimes people just like, hey, you doing something. They just want to give you, they want to support you in it.
Yeah. But it was the thing that just kind of started turning everything around for me. I never really thought it was going to work out or that I was going to be able to do it for a living or make any money actually making music. It was just the same thing. It was like, I just want to do this for me.
Yeah. When you write the lyrics down, is it more of like you're writing a story or it's like poetic? And then how does it become music? Or do you have like a sound in your head that you're like, okay, this is what I want to sound like? Or I mean, are you just taking words and putting emotions on paper and then you create the sound and the vibe behind that we're going to hear when it's done?
I mean, every song's a little bit different. Like I have like a notebook full of like thousands of notes of just like, if I think of certain lines or not even lines, or just certain thoughts that I think could have, maybe turn into a song one day or turn into a line of a song in some way, then I'll write that down. Or a lot of times I'll just search tracks on YouTube or something like that, something that kind of fits like a vibe of something that I'm feeling, just so I can free write and just trying to come up with ideas, or search until something makes me feel something. And I kind of let the music kind of do the speaking for me. And if I have I work with a lot of really good producers that will sit down and I'll tell them like an idea of something that I'm thinking. I want something that feels, I don't know, if I'm like, okay, I want something that feels like heavy, but it's got some pianos in it, and I want it to kind of drive so that there can be some emotion to it. But I want to, let's make it something like in a minor key so that, it can be a little more emotionally resonant, and we can kind of vibe on that. And once the track starts coming together, I'll just wait, until a track makes me feel something, and then I kind of go with wherever that takes me in a lot of ways. So sometimes in a lot of ways, the actual music part comes before I even write anything.
Okay.
Um, and for me, it's like a lot of rewrites. I'll initially write my writing process has changed so much over the years. And it used to be I wouldn't get up until a verse was finished, or I wouldn't get up until the song was done because I don't want to leave and come back with a different state of mind. I want to like kind of stay locked in if I have a flow state or something. And then I got really big into rewrites and coming back and figuring it out. And sometimes I'll just get on a mic and I'll just do it there in the room and kind of figure it out. And now for me, it's kind of a mixture of all those things. I like to write, and then I like to go back and really figure out, am I putting my own experience into this the way I should, or am I holding back, or am I being specific? Can I be more specific to my own story instead of speaking in broad terms? I used to try and always speak in broad terms when writing songs because I thought that would be more accessible for a broader audience. But I think I found that it's actually the opposite in a weird way. The more specific you are to your own story, the more relatable it is in a weird way because people aren't relating to actual details, they're relating to the emotion.
Yeah.
And they'll fit their own story into yours in a way that makes sense to them instead of just speaking in a broad term, because then it can just be kind of weightless in a way.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of trying to connect with someone instead of connecting with yourself. But yeah, it's just been a lot of trial and error of just trying to figure out different things and how can I put myself into this as much as possible.
I love it. You have a song that I always thought it was every time I drive by Zzyzx Road.
Oh, nice.
I
Okay. Yeah,
think of you every time. It's like this. If anybody has ever made the drive from Vegas to California or vice versa, there's this exit and it's Zzyzx and it's spelled like, was it ZZYXX or something like, or
yeah. I
no,
think it's
Z
ZZYZX. Zzyzx. Yeah.
ZZYZX. Yeah. And I always thought it was like, it always catches my eye for whatever reason. That's a very strange name. I don't know where it came from or whatever, but
Yeah.
you wrote a song about that road. Like what is it that inspired you about that?
I mean, okay, so this is like the first time I'd actually worked in a real studio. There was someone in LA that reached out to me and wanted to like work on a project. So I was driving from Vegas to LA to work on this EP or whatever it was going to turn into at
And
the
you see
time.
the
And
sign, huh?
yeah, and would see the sign every time I passed it. So I was like, I guess that's what it's going to be. And this was like, I was so broke at the time, like had no money to even like sleep anywhere when I was driving to LA to make this EP, and my card broke
What does
down when I
EP
was
mean?
out there. An EP is like they call it's an extended play, which is weird because it's actually a shorter
Okay.
album, so to speak. So an album is what, like 10 to 20 songs, whatever it might be. An EP is usually like 6 to 8 songs. So it's just a shorter album
Okay.
that people make. So I wasn't gonna make a full album, so we just made like 6 or 7 songs that ended up coming out on this project. But I would see that sign every time I passed it, and so that just became what it was.
I love it. I think of you every single time. It's an interesting name to a road. Do you know even this, like why it's named, what it
I've
is?
had a
Do you
lot
ever
of
look
people
about
like
it?
send me videos about what it means or the city that it used to be or the town that used to be there, but I don't really know much
Yeah.
about the lore of Zzyzx Road. I was more
Yeah.
just like, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense to me. And it's like, it felt like this in between space of, it was in between Vegas and LA. And I felt I was in between where I am and where I want to go. And so it just kind of emotionally kind of resonated with me in that way.
You know, of my two kids, Amaya and Daxton, Amaya is somebody who just the music moves through her different.
What do you
She
mean?
is and I've been wanting to share this with you because I know with music how it can resonate to people in different ways, but there is something about music that she is so drawn to. And she likes to she likes to dance, so that's I think part of it for her, but she also likes to sing. But I see it in her. Like my son is just like music's just like he's 5, but even at 5, like she still had an interest in music. So when a certain song comes on that evokes like this emotion in her,
Mm.
she will get into this flow state and she'll just like dance to music for like hours sometimes. And she's just like in the lyrics, in the emotions, in the the song itself. It's like
Yeah.
her and the music are just one together. And she just moves through it so beautifully, and she sings, and she knows all the words to the song, and she just gets clearly in this flow state.
That's so cool.
It is so
How
cool.
old is she now?
She's 7.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it is. I think certain things just hit certain people differently because I'm such a music person, and music has always been that thing. Even when I was growing up, it was like I remember periods of my life based on what music I was listening to at that time, and how much it would connect with me even when I was growing up, of stuff like that. And then there's just people that are just like passive music listeners. Like Megan is the most passive music listener I've ever met in my life. Like if something like hits home with her, like a song, like if she sends me a song, I'm like, this is crazy. Cause it's so for something to like super connect with her through music is like a big thing. Cause she is just doesn't
It's
connect
mostly
with
just
it
like background noise for her.
in that way. Yeah. Like she likes music, but it's not like this wasn't like your shit growing up. Like you didn't need this.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, I needed this. I needed these people. I needed these artists that were saying these things. And it was like so important to me. And it like was maybe the highest priority of anything was the music I was listening to. And like that would form my identity and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's really cool. You know, if, you know, for
Yeah.
someone to see that in
She
somebody
was
that
in the
young.
4th of July, I kid you not. She was like in her little 4th of July bathing suit, and like music was on. And I think she requested a certain song, and then 2 hours goes by and she's still
Is there
just
certain music that
dancing.
she's like super into?
She likes the song Never Again. I forget Cole Swindle. Cole Swindle sings it.
Like
It's like a little
country?
bit more of a country song. But she also has this song by K-pop. It's like maybe it's like called Gold or something, but it's kind of more of those like emotional, like, you know, kind of a little bit dramatic
Oh, yeah.
songs that she's really into. She was into the Maui song for a little bit too. What was it?
What was the Maui song?
Maui, it's from Moana.
Okay.
And what is it? I gotta think of the lyric for a second. What he says in it. It's when Maui's like singing about like his like that's like his song, and he's singing about like the best wave runners he's ever met, and he's like uh it's like this, it's quick, and it's like a lot of, I mean, I guess in a way it's kind of like a like part of it's like a rap. I mean, so sometimes he's like da 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 da,
Yeah.
and she's just like following it. She's like singing it, and she's like into it, and she just loved it. She wanted to karaoke it, crazy. But that girl has the music in her, and so my biological dad, his name's Greg. He lives in Squim, Washington. Anyways, he's a musician.
Okay.
So he was in a rock band. It was called Stories Under Stone. Big, like in the 80s. Like he opened for.
It's like a grunge band? Sounds like a grunge band name.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think it's more grunge, or like like heavy, like it was like heavy rock, like metal almost.
Okay.
So
What was he a guitar player or?
yeah, he was a guitar player.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And man, he can still just rip on the electric guitar. It's just
Okay.
crazy.
Just shreds?
Oh yeah, he's in his
Nice.
60s now, but I mean, just still has long hair.
That's badass.
Most of the time, his hair is longer than mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
He had a shoulder injury a couple years ago, and he couldn't like tie his hair back, so he's like, cut it, you know. So he like cut it shoulder length, and it was just so weird. But then he grew it back out again. I'm sure it's longer than mine. So, but he's a musician, and the music I feel like comes from so strongly from that side. So I'm a music person as well, but in periods of my life, I lean towards music when I'm going through something hard.
Mm.
That's really when I lean into music. Otherwise, most of the time, I don't have music on. Just like I don't like pop in the car and turn music on. I really like to listen to music when I work out, even because for me, that's like I'm in my own head. That's like where,
That's interesting.
right? But
You don't listen to anything when you work out?
no,
Not podcast, nothing?
almost nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, usually nothing.
I think I would go insane.
Yeah, right. That's the
Yeah.
point.
Is that the point?
That's the
Is that you're
point.
trying to push yourself
That's
through?
what I'm trying to push myself through.
I guess it is like a form of meditation in a way
it
too,
is.
right?
It's a mental battle. Like for me, that's like a war field. Like the workout room is like where I'm going to push myself beyond again. You know, it is like But you gotta think too, when I'm actually fighting, there's no music.
That's a really good point.
So it's
I
all
never thought about
mental.
that.
And so like I can't tune it out. I have to be one with that voice in me that wants to quit,
Mm.
and I gotta name it, and I gotta be like, you little bitch. And I gotta go to war. And so
That's
like
so interesting. I never thought about it like that.
so taking that like edge off for me and like making this fun or relaxing isn't something that I usually like lean into. It's and it, there will usually be music on at the UFC Performance Institute when we're doing our strength and conditioning because it's a mutual room.
Mm.
And sometimes I'll love it. Like I'll just be like, oh, like love this song, or like, I'll be like, Johnny, you put the playlist on right now. There's no one else in here. We'll put some country on. I was like, yeah, I'm into it. But I don't tie my music in that way. My music, where it's tied into me emotionally, is like when I'm trying to get through something hard, when I've gone through breakups, when I feel like I've lost myself.
Mm.
There's a point in my life too where I was considering if my life was worth living. I had retired from MMA. I'd left a toxic relationship. I was just at my lowest of low. I had already become a world champion, and I thought that was going to fix all my problems, and it actually just made it 10 times worse because like, oh, now that I know that this no amount of success is ever going to fix the work that I haven't done,
Mm.
it was like that was hard. That was a tough pill to swallow.
I know I'm smiling right now, but I relate so much in just the idea of I'll be happy when, I'll be happy
Yeah.
when, I'll be happy when. Then you get that thing and you're like, I'm still not happy. And uh, there's so many people that are like, oh, fucking boohoo, whatever, you're upset because I'm like, you don't understand because you still have in your head, yeah, if I maybe get this one thing, I'll be, and there's
Yeah.
like comfortability in the pursuit of that. And there's like a way that you can kind of calm the voice in your head of like, it's going to be okay once I do this. But once you finally,
Do it.
I'm like, once I can, I finally can be okay and like live off of making music and be able to do this or have whatever, I'll be okay. And then you get it and you're like, I'm so fucking unhappy and this is scary because now what? So now there's nothing. You're telling me, so now there's nothing that's going to take this away. Now I need to figure out what exactly it is. That's a pretty difficult place to be
It's a
in.
heavy lift.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy lift. And I remember being at that point and just figuring that I had to figure it out. And I've said this before on the podcast. It's like when I really weighed things out and it really was boiled down to one question: do I want to live or do I want to die? It was like, well, I don't want to die, so I got to change how I live.
Mm.
Because like I don't want to live like this. That's the problem. It's like not that I don't want to be here. It's I don't want to be here under these circumstances in this way. This isn't conducive. I don't feel good. I don't even feel healthy. Because happiness is, I think, a bit of a misnomer. People think that we all want to strive to be happy, but realistically, I don't think humans were meant to be happy all the time. It's like, in that idea that we have to chase happiness, it's like, no, we have to chase healthiness. Like, we need to be in a good space, but like, you and I sitting here and having this conversation right now is not about being happy. We're like sharing, we're connecting, but it's not, we're not like happy right now. It's not bliss and joy and sunshine and rainbows. I'm like, yeah, I like that elation. That's
Mm.
just like such a small part of how humans operate, is like in that space. It's like of our lives is like, I bet it's like maybe like 5 or 10% realistically, but we all think that we need to live in that space.
Yeah.
It's like we don't. We need to live in like what makes us feel purpose. Purpose is something I think that can be more inclusive and more comprehensive to like who we are and how we live our daily lives to be fulfilled and purposeful. And I think for me, a lot of that's like helping other people too,
Yeah.
But anyways, it's like this optical illusion of like Instagram. It's like, oh my gosh, your life's so happy. It's so perfect. It's like, no, it's like 5%, 10%,
Yeah.
maybe. So don't feel bad. Like if your life is not always happy, that's okay. You feel like you have purpose? Okay,
Well,
that matters.
that's the more difficult question too, and that's the harder thing to find.
Yeah.
I think is finding purpose.
Yep.
Because if you're looking for it in really what you do, a lot of people sometimes can find it there. But finding purpose, like where did you find yours? Or how did you find a way to, I don't know, find, I guess, because you're right, it's not about like happiness, it's more about being content and being comfortable and
Yeah,
where
like
you're at.
like being fulfilled. That's
So
the
how do
right
you
word.
find how did you find that?
I would say it was a lot of soul searching, but for one, it was getting the balls to finally change my surroundings because I was too allowing myself to be comfortable in the misery. And I think that just because you can endure doesn't mean that you should have to. And I had stayed in a really, a pretty toxic relationship for an extended period of time. And I remember having this conversation with my great uncle, who's now in his 80s, and I adore him and I love him so much because I had isolated myself from most of my family. And I was having this conversation. I said, I've been wanting to leave this relationship. I know that it's not right for me, but I'm struggling to do it. It's just really hard. And truthfully, I had lost a boyfriend to suicide earlier before this relationship in my life. And so every time that I would go to like leave this relationship, he would threaten suicide. And it's like, you don't want that blood on your hands.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, I would be like, okay, you just stay a little bit longer until they can get regulated, and then you leave, and then you're just like sucked right back into the whole thing, and it's like the year goes by, and it's not like all of the relationship was bad. Obviously, if all of it was bad, maybe I would have left sooner. It's so not all parts were bad, but overall, for sure, it was not good.
Yeah,
and I just had the mental strength to be able to endure it, and I had convinced myself. So my uncle told me, he's like, Miesha, you're so afraid of hurting him that you will choose to hurt yourself instead. And I'm like, he's right. I have convinced myself, and I've allowed him to go on where it's like, I don't even want to hurt him a little bit, so I'll just take a lot. Or for me, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, to leave stay in the relationship or leave it. Where for him, it's like you convince yourself that it's like you're going to push them off the cliff. Right? And it's like, man, it just got so toxic and so unhealthy. And I was just I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't living my life for me. Even fighting had been something I was going through the motions with. I was just a means of like support. And I thought that, again, if I became a champion, it would all fix itself. It didn't. Then I lost my next 2 fights after that. And I was just devastated, 2 fights in a row, and I couldn't show up for them. I wasn't present. I didn't know where I was, but I wasn't in that moment. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So your question though was like finding myself, was like answering that question. It's like, I want to live. Okay, then I got to do something different. I got to change it. How do you change it? I don't know. I got to change some surroundings, pick up, left everything, took a huge risk, retired, and I started connecting with self, connecting with spirit, which for me was God. And self. I still kind of think it's one and the same. If I'm being honest, I think the more that you connect with yourself, the more that you connect with God, because I think God lives in us, and it's like that's just the way that I look at it. I think the degrees of separation are much smaller than people think. I think organized religion would like to have you think that God is this really superior being, and there's a lot to be afraid of if you don't conform. And I just, I've had one deep experience with psilocybin and one experience with ketamine, and that what that did for me spiritually and my awareness, and bringing like the degrees of separation between me and you to like.
Well, tell me about that. What was that?
That was like? Crazy. I mean, it was just, it was just one time, and it was a heavy lift too, for me.
With psilocybin?
Yeah. I mean, I've done like micro middle doses, but only one time I did like 3 grams, and I had the option. Yeah.
Okay.
I had the option about an hour in to do another gram. I was like, no, I'm good. That's enough for me. I'm always.
So is it like a regulated type of thing? Did you have somebody kind of guiding you through the? Okay.
I had a guide, although I didn't use the guide. They were just kind of held space.
Okay.
But they could have
it was like a thing where you put like the stuff over your eyes to like black it out type of situation?
It was way less formal than that. This lady was just somebody who is a space holder in a sense, to just make sure that nothing goes wrong, but also can run you through things if you wanted to do like an exercise or an emotional release or something like that.
Was this recently, or?
It was actually a few years ago. My kids were still pretty small, and they weren't at the house. I had them, go, and Johnny and I did this together. So we did it at our house, and it was just extremely hyper
Who's the
connection
person
that put us through it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to think of her name. I don't know off the top of my head, but she lives in Hawaii, but she comes here sometimes. Okay. But yeah, but if we were looking, I'll definitely she was great.
I just wondered if it was somebody that I knew.
No, it wasn't. Are you thinking of Dana?
Yeah, totally thinking of Dana. 100%. I was
I would totally.
I would let her fucking guide me through a trip for sure. She's the best.
Yeah, and she's talked about that too. Like she's like, if you ever want to do that, and I at some point.
Have you had her on here?
No,
dude, you have to. She's doing these really cool events. They just did one like yesterday at Durango Station where like it's sold out. Where they're doing like this wellness,
She
like
sends,
yoga
yes,
situation thing. Yeah,
she
she'd
sends me
probably
the
be great.
invites, and I swear every time, like one time was on my fight day. I was like, well, I
Oh
can't
yeah,
be there
for
for
sure.
that,
Yeah,
and it was just like
yeah,
hasn't worked out, but I'm gonna go. I actually went with Sarah, Sarah Atlasman, what she's married now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, because she worked at EBC too, and she does some like ritual. So I did that was really cool. It's like a sound
Sound
thing that
bath.
they did. Yeah, sound
Yeah,
bath, and then we did what is the thing? There was three different plant medicines that we did. One was like they shoot this stuff up your nose as
that's
like
crazy.
burns, but it's like I forget what it's called. And then there's these eye drops that also kind of burn. There was something else that we did, but it just definitely felt like a cleansing. It
Yeah,
was interesting. Um so back to the whole psilocybin thing.
yeah.
It was just like this hyper connection between the two of us. I remember we started out on the couch and we were laying so heads at opposite ends and kind of working through this emotional, like that was my independent journey. That was where I was going through the things that I didn't know were still bothering me. Like I started basically unpacking
Mhm.
shit. And I was like, I didn't even know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
This feels really good to put this weight down. And I remember crying at one point and kind of being really processing that and then just being like, okay, I think that I need to change the scenery because I've hashed this out enough. I don't need to keep doing it. And that's the thing about the psilocybin will kind of like keep you in that cycle, and you have to understand when you've done enough.
Mhm.
Um, then I went outside, and that was just like connected me to the trees and the grass and everything that you see is just you see the life and connection in it, and you realize that it's not that far from you.
Mhm.
It's not that different from you. Like we're all just on this energy circuit, basically,
Yeah.
and we all just kind of borrow from that circuit, but we all run on the same thing. And so for me, that was God. That was God to me. That connection, that energy circuit, the thing that makes the tree have life and the thing that makes me have life and the thing like that is what we're all feeding off of. And so in a way, collectively, I think that we all make the spirit.
I like that.
Yeah. And that's and I also think there will always be good, there will always be bad. Um and I think it's there to give us perspective and opportunity to learn and to choose growth, as opposed to that passive change. I
Yeah.
think so that's kind of how, and I'm still exploring this concept because it's wild, and I think it's different than what you learn, and I still go to church, but sometimes I hear, the message, and I don't totally, I just have a different feeling about it now. I don't
Mhm.
see it as like, you know, God, intimidating, tithe,
It's not
you're
the
gonna go to
separation. You
hell.
think it's like more of like a eye to eye
Yeah,
type
like he's
situation.
like in me, like he is me. Like I know my God because I know myself. And I think that's where that big change started for me. It was like learning to love self
Mhm.
and learning the power how God can work that energy through me, but it's like that connection to self, loving myself. And then connection to the people around me, which is again an extended version of that.
Yeah.
It's like I had aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, mom, dad. Like I was not talking to any of these people.
Mm.
So I went on this road trip, and it was just like about self-discovery, and I called up great aunts and great uncles, my uncle Ed and like his sisters, and my grandma had already passed at that time. She was the oldest of like 8 or 9.
Damn.
And so there was a lot of great aunts and uncles that I just had no real relationship with. So I sat down with them and I had dinner with them and I asked them, the questions about life and just gained so much perspective and
That's
connection.
cool.
And that was just, that really for me was a big turning point. And then the rest is like peeling back layers of an onion. You're always going to continue to learn and evolve and change. Obviously, becoming a mother, that was a huge turning
Yeah, I
point
can
for me.
imagine. That's a
Huge turning
big.
point because now it's like I have this responsibility towards these little kids. And the cliche saying of like, put your mask on before you put others on, right?
Mm.
But it's such a good analogy because you have to fix here and you have to meet yourself. And I don't know your mother, but I know that people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves.
That is so true. It's so true.
And she just maybe she doesn't know that, or she hasn't consciously been through it, or she hasn't been able to work through it. And that's, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not even something that necessarily, and I think that sometimes there's certain drugs and things that take from you learning that,
Mhm.
right? They take it away. And there are some things that help you get more towards it. But anyways, that work on myself, that lift, and realizing that my ceiling is my children's floor. I look at it like, if
That's really cool.
I elevate myself and I'm pushing myself to reach a higher ceiling, to elevate that up, like I'm gonna, someday when I leave this world, I'm putting them on the top of that.
I think that's I've got a lot of friends that have kids and um that have talked just a lot about their experience with parenting, and the one thing that I keep coming back to that like always rings true with me and all this kind of stuff is just hearing people talk about how they want to be better for their kids is always, to me, like that's it. Like that's if you are consciously wanting to be better and wanting to show
Then
up
you
for your
are.
kids, and then there it is. Like I have a men's like group that I go to that I meet with once a week, and a lot of those guys have kids, and just hearing them, if they have if they're like not with their partner anymore, but they have their time with their kid, and they're like, no, I want my time with my kid. And I'm like, the idea of a parent caring enough that they like have their time and they want to hang out with you, like you're already good. Even if your kid doesn't want to hang out with you, or they're teenager and just like, dad, leave me alone, whatever it is. Like the fact that you're showing up and you're trying to be there and you want to be there is just such a big deal on its own.
It matters. You know that song, the Cats in the Cradle, Silver Spoon?
Uh-huh.
You know that song? Like, that's so true, where parents sometimes miss it, even well meaning parents, like how important that is. And it's like, we're all so busy. We all have so many things going on. I have, plenty of time that I have to spend away from my children, but we have little things, that Johnny and I do, like first 10 minutes when the kids come down, or they wake up. We usually wake up before them, put our phones away. Is like that first 10 minutes of the day is undivided attention to the kids.
Mm.
Just to let them know, like, nothing is fucking more important than you. What is so important that I must have those first 10 minutes with you um, distracted and interrupted?
Yeah.
It's like, I want the message to be very clear. Like, you are the most important thing. Like, all this other stuff doesn't compare. And yes, there will be times when I need to prioritize those things. And you got to understand, like, in order for, our house to be the
Yeah,
way that
for
you
sure.
want, and they think that they will, and they'll gather that. But they'll always have a sense of, I had purpose in my parents' life, and I was important to them.
Yeah, and if you're setting that foundation to kind of start off with, instead of like the opposite and then trying to fix that later on,
Yeah.
then there's, I guess it's like, what do they say? It's like bending the bristles, like on a broom, you can't really bend them back no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
Once they're kind of bent one way,
Yeah.
it's kind of just how it is. I think in a lot of ways that it's hard to kind of unlearn your learned behavior, or how you were, raised or grown up, or where you prioritize, or your currency for love in your household, or what you can do, whatever, whether it was like, I know a lot of kids, the currency was like, if I get good grades, then my parents are going to
Right.
love me, or if I do well in
It's
sports, my parents are going to
conditional.
love me, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like, what is your currency? And if your currency is just showing up and being yourself, that's kind of where it's at. If people can wrap their heads around that and
Yeah.
bring that into existence, that's kind of the sweet spot.
Where do you think, in your journey, that you started to meet yourself? And, we talked a bit about, where my low point was, and then where I kind of transitioned, and the things that really helped me the most, connection with self, connection with God, connection with family around. But I'm curious, for you in your journey, what were the things that were the most helpful to getting you, I don't know, to the other side of it?
I mean, I'm fortunate to when I got sober when I was 18, I got plugged in with like 12-step programs, and like going to like AA and NA meetings and finding a community there of people that show up without expectation, and people who show up just wanting to kind of be there for another person, and there's no financial gain for anybody. There's no, underlying intentions on anything except for just showing up. And I still feel it's the one place in the world I can go, or anybody can go, if you meet the qualifications, I guess, that is just really an altruistic movement of people just there for one another and want to see people do better and be better and will call you out on your shit. And I think I'm fortunate that I got plugged in with that at such an early age.
Is that something that like anybody, like how do you start on something like that? Is it I mean, did it have to come out of pocket? Is it something
for
that
like going to AA?
yeah, or like
No,
how?
I mean that's free. You just walk in, just
Okay.
find a meeting, and there's thousands, especially in Las Vegas. There's a lot.
So
There's
like
thousands
would
of
you
meetings.
just like type it in, or I mean, did you get put in there because of like the you
Yeah,
were
when
gonna
I
go
was
to?
in rehab, they would kind of bus us to meetings
Okay.
and kind of like plug us
And
in
what
so
about
that
the
when
rehab part? Like how people go about that?
that's, I mean, there's a lot of different rehab facilities. Those, unfortunately are not free. Uh, they can be pretty expensive. And I was fortunate enough that, someone took care of the expense for me when I needed to go. But I don't even know how they found it. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm sure it was just like
Yeah.
a Google search away,
Okay.
or my thing would always be, finding somebody in recovery these days is usually maybe 1 to 2 degrees of separation. Most people know somebody that's in recovery, or they know someone who knows someone who's in recovery.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first step of just reaching out to somebody who is in recovery of like, hey, do you have, any suggestions? I have somebody who's suffering or going through
Do you
this,
keep
or
in contact with people from that
yeah, I still go
experience?
to meetings.
Okay.
I need to, not even necessarily as much. I'm not like, I have no fear of like relapsing or anything these days, but it's more so to keep myself in check and to keep myself out of my own head and not thinking about me as much, and try and show up for other people, and
Yeah.
also to call myself on my own shit, because just because you're sober does not mean that you stop making bad decisions or you don't get selfish and start, I can fall into old behavior even though I'm not using, of just being selfish and being self-centered and only thinking about myself, and obsessing on me and what I need to get out of this world and what I'm going for in this life, and forget that there's other people in the world that you need to worry about and take care of and show up for. And a little piece of that higher power, which I've had a difficult time with my entire recovery life, of finding what my higher power means to me and what my relationship is with a higher power or a God, or whatever. And it's changed so much over the years, to where I mean, it's very similar to kind of what you talk about, is I can feel a pull. I think a lot of people can, if you're kind of tapped into the universe of, I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And I can feel a pull if I'm tapped in. I can
Yeah.
feel what the right thing to do is. And am I going to go with it, or am I going to push against it? And if I push against it and there's resistance, I usually have difficulty in my life of not going where I feel like I need to go, and where my genuine, authentic self is pushing me. Because I think the universe wants me to be happy and wants me to
Yeah.
be successful and be comfortable and feel safe. And if I'm tapped into what that is, I can usually figure out the right way to go. And I don't get that by just sitting around. I have to like work on it, and I have to have a men's group that I meet with, and have to, do these certain different things. But even throughout that time, I mean, even in my recovery, like my best friend was murdered when I was, a couple years sober. And I stopped kind of going to meetings and was just kind of isolating and wanted to be by myself and didn't want to let people in and wanted to just kind of worry about me. And
Did you ever relapse?
no, I thankfully I hadn't had a relapse since I got sober. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I think I built a foundation and then found like comfortability in my sobriety, and I don't like feeling out of control.
Yeah.
It's opposite now.
It's
It's
like
like
a reframe. I mean,
yeah,
you looked at it because before you were saying that you love the feeling of being able to like whew, like let the walls down and just kind of be vulnerable. And it's now you're looking at the positive of like being sober. It's like, okay, well, I like to have that control. I like these things about being sober. And sometimes that's what I think it really takes for us to make change, is like reframing the way that we look at a situation.
Mm. But I'll, you know, if you're sober, you'll discover the longer you stay sober that, you know, you'll find other ways to kind of check out. Or, you know, a lot of people get into like gambling becomes like a big thing
Right.
for people, or gaming or porn, which is like
Right.
a huge thing, especially for men in recovery space of, you know, that addiction, which is a whole different monster on its own. Um, or even like working out or whatever
Yeah.
whatever it is. There's like all these new frontiers of
So
like,
true. Like people think like working out is like, oh man, they look at it and that's great. And I'm like, it can be toxic. It
yeah,
can certainly be toxic,
yeah.
you know?
I've found the toxic level of, you know, going to the gym or exercise if I'm just using it just to regulate.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it because I enjoy it. I'm doing it
Yeah.
because I need it to operate.
Right.
And that's never really a great place to be. Like it's a nice enhancer of like, okay, this makes me feel better. This gets kind of, you know, my endorphins going or whatever. But it's like if I can't operate in my day unless
You have it.
I have it,
Then it's a vice.
yeah, then it's like if I'm here, I need to bring myself down here. And the only way for me to do it is through some sort of physical activity. And I still don't know if that's necessarily terrible, but I,
Certainly not the worst thing, but I know what you're talking about
yeah,
though, that it can definitely be toxic. I mean, you think of like yeah, I mean like going to the gym and just being like, well, I need this outcome from the gym, and you're not really focused on the health of the journey of it or whatever. It's like it's all about this outcome and like what you need from it. And it's
mm,
like I just yeah, I caution people. Like for example, like a David Goggins.
yeah,
Although I admire the hell out of the discipline that it takes to do what he does, and I honestly I can't really empathize with it. Like I don't understand that level. I understand a level, but he's just so next level. And I look at it and I say, um, that there's probably something there that's like that's how he deals with his
mm,
trauma, and for him it is a version of a for lack of a better term, it's just it's a coping mechanism. But at
yeah.
what point can it be detrimental? I mean, when he's a man's like torn this and hurt that and doing whatever, and you just disregarding like his the feeling inside, like he's just constantly
Yeah,
trying to like
something's like telling you to stop and you just
yeah, and
push through it no matter what. Yeah.
and it's like the addiction to that battle, right? Where
Hmm.
I think that sometimes people who get so far down the road of like fixating on working out, it's like it's that battle. And I've teetered on that too. Like I was talking about, like when I don't listen to music and things like that, it's like sometimes you get a little sick in the head about it and you're like, you got to check yourself a little bit and be like,
Well, that's why there
wait, is
is,
this healthy?
yeah. And that's why there is, once, even if, I don't know if it was a similar thing for you, but I grew up like loving music. And then when you start doing it, you kind of lose the love for the actual thing in
Absolutely.
a certain way. And then it feels like, okay, I have to do this. I
Yep.
need to do this. I have to work out to change the way, because if I don't, I'm going to feel this way and I want to feel better. And if throughout my day, if every action I'm taking is to regulate either down or up my emotions or the way I'm feeling, where's the authentic me in that? Like, where am I doing anything because I like to do it?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
if I'm
when you
only
turn
doing
it,
things now to get this reaction or to get this outcome, what happened to just, oh, I just like this?
yeah. Well, when we turn it into the means of income or the source of work to I just don't think humans were meant to live in the society that we've created. If I'm being totally honest, I think that's what's working mostly against us. I don't think that school works for us, and I don't think that work works for us.
Mm,
And we're just indoctrinated since we're really young to be stressed out and work overtime and do all these things. And so we find something that makes us feel good and passionate. We're like, that's how I'm going to make my means. But the two don't really go together.
yeah.
It's like when you become a slave to it, then it's not what really it loses the purpose that it was intended for, which was to be there in the time that serves you,
Mm,
not for you to serve it, because it's like how you have to make your money, and it's like all these things and obligations and whatever. But that's just like how we have to operate. We have to have we have to have this.
Mhm.
So that, like the dollars, so we can have
Yeah, how
the
can I
house.
monetize
How can you monetize of
everything?
what you're passionate about? But that's the fastest way to drive it out, I think.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's you start off drinking from the well, and eventually the well starts drinking back, and then eventually it kind of offsets, and it's drinking more than you're
Yeah.
taking, and that puts you in a bad spot. And dude, I think the addition of social media into the whole thing just put it catastrophically in the worst place ever, because now you can monetize everything. Now you monetize your daily routine, or you used to be
Yeah.
able to get away from shit. It's like, okay, it's at work, I have to deal with this, but now it's like it's all the time. It's, you have to always be on, you have to always be doing something, and your self-worth is based on your views or the amount of likes that you can get or what you can monetize for something, and how much are you worth to these
Yep.
people. And it gets so toxic, and again, finding where is the authentic me in all of this, and how can you find it if you don't disconnect. And I really don't think it's possible to find it without disconnecting,
Yeah.
which is
Absolutely.
difficult.
It
Which is
is.
why, like, stuff like psilocybin, because like I've been sober for a long time, but I don't know, once a year, every couple of years, I'll eat some mushrooms and try and figure out what the fuck's
Yeah,
happening, what's going on. I think it's incredibly therapeutic and good for people.
it is.
And that's like the most extreme amount of like a disconnect, to try and figure out where the fuck I am
Yeah.
and who I
And
am
you
and
know
what's
what?
going
I
on.
think of it like plugging into a different energy source. And sometimes like a reframe on that, which I know what you're saying about disconnects, because you're right. But if you think about it as like maybe we're living disconnected,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then it's like you actually get a breath of connection for a moment, and you get to see like, how do I live and operate more in a space of connection? It's like you get to tap into that in a deep level, a meaningful level that has those reverberations. I feel like you can amplify and like put into your life that
Mm.
gives you again that meaning and purpose. I think a lot of us, we all walk around all the time, is like so disconnected from what actually serves us.
That's exactly that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's why, I mean, to bring it back to music, I mean, that's, the cool thing about, I mean, there is the piece of like, okay, now you do this for a living. Now you have to produce, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. But if you can forget about everything and just kind of lock into a flow state, or
Yeah.
to a feeling of connecting with the universe through just music, there's no better feeling in the world. I think that's the drug in creating, is flow state. And if you can like tap into that, that's the good shit. Like that's the sweet spot to find. And I think that's what most artists are chasing, is that. And it just gets more difficult to find it when there's always something pulling you out, which is the noise of people or management or
Yeah.
social media or whatever it is. And
All the work that comes with it.
exactly. And to just like cut it off and be like, okay, this is me, and this is what I'm trying to figure out and find myself in here. That's where the best kind of work comes from, and the best feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. The name Ekoh, where does it come from?
The
How did you
name
decide on
Ekoh
that?
comes from when I was looking in a dictionary to try and find a name, uh, and I came across just the word echo, and the definition was like, an echo is evidence of sound traveling. If you yell something and you hear an echo, you can hear that it is actually traveling a distance. And I always wanted whatever I was doing to be able to travel as far as possible. So I like the idea of that. And then I just switched the spelling because
Yeah,
I
it's
was
edgy.
raised on like corn and Limp Bizkit. So, that was just like embedded in my DNA to kind of change the spelling.
I love it. So good. I mean, I think that's really all I have for you today. This was so good to just sit down and have a good conversation, be where
Yeah.
our feet are, and just, again, we've always seen each other in, these situations. Like we think your birthday. Your birthday just went by the way. Happy birthday.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I think we
Thank
were
you.
there last year or the year before. We were at
A
the
couple years
M
ago. Yeah.
at the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
So
fun.
Freed's Bakery. Yeah, I remember. It's all coming back to me. The kids were
Or Top
playing.
Gun. You took us to see Top Gun, dude. That was the best.
Oh, Top Golf?
Top Gun.
Oh, the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, yes. So, I mean, we hang out in passing, but it's nice to just sit down and have a conversation. I know you have a story, and I just respect it. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. I appreciate you being here too, because I know I was texting you a little bit before you came. And I was like, I think when I had asked you to come on the podcast, just wasn't aware of the depth of the recent events. And I was like,
Mm.
man, I just don't know if he's gonna like want to come and do this. And they sent you a text, and you were like, I'm an open book. And I was like, I respect it because um, I do believe that sitting down and having vulnerable, meaningful conversations and sharing the things that work, for me, for you, and our paths and our journeys is just, it creates some relatability, I
Mm.
think, for people to be able to sit down and say, you know what, I think that there's a way through this. There's a way to, maybe do it better. And it's just those little things that we can do in this moments in genuine conversation that I think can make lasting and meaningful like impact in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important, regardless of what you're going through, to be able to speak on it or just show up and be where you're at, and that's fine. And I appreciate you having me. I think, I've been a fan of yours since before I knew you. Your journey to me is incredible and so inspiring, and it's amazing. So I think you're a legend, but you really are, and it's so cool, and I just appreciate you having me
Thank
come hang
you.
out.
Thank you. I genuinely appreciate that compliment. It means a lot. And tell people where else they can follow you, find you. I know you just postponed your tour because of, all the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recent events, but like,
Yeah.
what are you looking at, and where else can we find you?
I mean, you can find me anywhere at Ekoh Music, EKOH Music, at on any social media platform. Yeah, we postponed the tour to November and December. I just needed some time.
Yeah.
Which, being home now, is like I made the right decision for sure.
Good.
That was one of those like pulls from the universe that I was like trying to fight, and I was like, dude, I've worked my entire life to be my own boss. Like, why am I doing shit I don't want to do? Like, I shouldn't. If I don't feel like it's right and I don't want to be doing it, then I need to be able to make the call.
Well, and the product will be better when you can really give it everything that it deserves. The fans deserve that too, and I think you
Yeah, most
recognize that,
definitely.
It's like you don't want to show up and be half of a shell of who you are.
Yeah,
It's like
and
you want to
there's a point
really,
of like diminishing return at one point where it's like, this isn't going to benefit anybody here. This is just going to be bad for everybody involved.
yeah. So good. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's awesome.